Thank you so much.
You guys seem like such a dream team. And I read that the way you met was kind of serendipitous. Marianne, you met Anna at maybe a difficult time, and during production, you lived in a farmhouse. Could you maybe talk about that process of partnership?
Yes, I made the film 7 years, and I started with another producer who unfortunately died on third year, and it was a very difficult time. And then I was going with my daughter to climate protests, and there I met Marianne. We knew each other, but we hadn't really connected yet. And then this connection just felt strong. And when Film Institute called me, okay, who do you want your next producer to be? I had this feeling that Marianne, so I called her. And then Marianne can tell from her side.
Yes, from my perspective, it was so that I had spent, let's say, one autumn, winter, and then it was spring when we met, but that autumn, winter, early spring, I had spent crawling through a very dark time in my life, and nothing tragic happened, but I just kind of broke under the pressure of perfectionism and internalized shame and so on, and was very hard on myself. And I had spent that period trying to somehow break it or shed it. And I don't know how, but I managed. And I remember, and it goes back to 2016 actually. My story is very long and complicated, but a beautiful ending. My roots are also in this area where Anna comes from and where the film is taking place, but it's a dormant connection. And in 2016, when Anna and the first producer Eero Talvistu had gotten development funding for the project, I read about it from Estonian Film Institute website, and I was like, okay, universe, how is it possible that I am not producing this film? And then 3 years later, there was the spring day when I felt like I'm finally out from the other end of this tunnel. And I was like feeling that I'm gonna just do what I feel called to do. And that day I felt the calling to go to this Fridays for Future protest, and Anna was there. And 1 week later, we shook the hands and started.
It's so amazing that you two found each other. During production, did you find that the sisterhood between the two of you sort of reflect the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood we saw on screen?
What? Sorry.
The sisterhood between the two of you, did that sort of reflect the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood we saw on screen in the film?
I, from the beginning, have felt and have this kind of internal knowing that this film is thriving on women joining forces. Not just two of us, but many women in the film.
Yeah, I wouldn't say that. How can I say? The sisterhood in the smoke sauna was emerging organically, and the whole process of how we made it, this with a feeling of sisterhood, it really was in all the production, in all the phases, from the development till now, where all the sisterhood is telling me that when you come home, Anna, in Christmas, please smoke sauna. They're concerned about me and inviting me and supporting me. So it's really the way to make films, or the way how this process was. And I wouldn't also divide it like us or them. It was a mentality how to create it.
We lived the Smoke Sauna Sisterhood, and we still live it.
That's amazing. And you kind of talked about it a little bit in your introduction, your conception of the idea with your grandmother. How did that first idea morph into this beautiful final product?
So the 11-year-old impulse was the impulse in me, growing through years. But more concretely for the film, it was 2015. In November, I was doing a meditation retreat with my mom in Thailand in a monastery. And it was 26 days of silence. I couldn't read, I couldn't write, I couldn't speak. And in that silence, I started to notice so many voices inside me and questioning like, okay, within those voices, where is my voice? Or when I'm speaking with my voice, is it really my voice? And also within those voices, I noticed many silenced voices, voices that had been silenced. And then this really deep understanding of importance of voice, or giving voice to all the experiences and feelings, and your own, and also hearing others. It like shook me. And then in one vision, because you don't really so much sleep in the meditation, I got this vision for this film, and it was so strong. And then I went next day to this lady monk whom you could go and tell when you had something important. And I felt it so important that I have to write it down, because otherwise it will like slip, this vision for the film. And I went to her and I was like, okay, can I write down? And then she was like, no, because you came here to be silent, Anna. And then she told me a very important lesson, that when it's important, then it will stay with you after 26 days also. And it stayed. And now, actually, this is a method that I do, that it's like this, when an idea is being born, or still in this kind of state of being conceiving there and bubbling, and I want to write it down, I don't write. I let it be 26 days. And then if it stays with me, I know it comes from the strong place. So then it was the vision, yeah. And funny thing for filmmakers, because I'm sure there are filmmakers here also, when I first asked money for the project, 2016, in the beginning, I didn't get the funding. And I got different points of rejection, why it didn't make sense. And like, who cares about like some local smoke sauna and women talking, and it's not going to be cinematographic at all. How are you gonna film in this dark, hot space? Doesn't make sense. And one argument was that we have not seen this kind of film before. And I was like, why should I make something that you have seen before? And several points, and now coming to this year when the film premiered in Sundance and I got that Best Director award, then later the jury came and congratulated me several points that I felt was very strong as a director. The decisions, they were the same points. So, so it has been like a journey to really trust my voice. And of course now, and I mean already then late before that, when like IFA started to select the project for pitching, the Estonians also started to support, and now we have a lot of support. Yes.
Happy end.
It's an amazing story and good tips. So in the film, the female body is shot with such empathy and trust, despite a little bit of an abstractness to it. Could you talk about the way you handled that?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, this was a big challenge. One of my degrees is in photography, so I'm very aware that wherever you take out camera is never objective. If somebody tells you camera is objective, no, always subjective, always with a glance. And the question is, what is the glance? And so my challenge was that when I have naked female bodies, how to show that nudity that is in smoke sauna, because it's nothing sexual. So how to show that nudity without objectification and sexualization. So I tested with a cinematographer on my own body first, finding the key, and then I showed to the women, and they felt safe. I felt first safe, then I showed, they felt safe, and then we were following who wanted to show their face, who didn't. And I mean, the whole process with the women was really based on trust. I'm like the voice from within the community, so all the sisterhood knew me and trusted me, and I had this rule that I will not persuade anyone. So in the beginning, I I was just very transparent on what level of intimacy I'm looking after. And those who were like, yes, we want to be there, then we continued. And when I felt hesitation, for me, it was no. And but it was 7 years, and during the 7 years, Me Too movement happened, and many women started to contact me and wanted to be part of the film. And also women that I didn't know. Like once we were filming and the car came and the woman came out and was like, "Where's the smoke sauna?" And I was like, okay, let's go there. So, and also we had that agreement really based on trust, that in the post-production, in the edit, I show the edit, what I had, the whole film, and they had the right to say yes or no, and then sign those papers there. So it was really like the whole process built with trust, and till now, yeah.
So it started with a small pool of women that were your friends, and it sort of expanded.
Yes. So in the final film, there are actually, I was counting 25 different women. And of course, there were more. And then what is very challenging for me emotionally was I had to support and comfort those whose story is not inside. So like how to comfort and make sure that it's that they wouldn't think that their story is not important. So I didn't have problem with somebody wanting their story to be out, but I had to comfort who was sad that their story was not in. So I had to comfort and also say that, thanks to your story, maybe there is another story, and now everyone is happy, but it was a lot of responsibility. Yeah.
Marianne?
No, I just wanted to say that it was complete surprise for me when, one woman after premiere was very sad that her story was not in. I put a lot of effort into the conversations with the women, and like Anna said, we signed the release forms only after the editing because it was impossible to do this kind of paperwork in such legal language before shooting them, because it would have broken down the whole thing. It's not possible to place this. My lawyer did these papers, I read them, and I was like, I can't present it to them. It will break something between us. So it was a conversation. They knew that we're taking huge risks, and we trust them, and they trust us. So that all worked out very, very well. But I never for a moment was worried that somebody will be sad because their story didn't go in. And that hopefully says something about the times that are changing, that women are reclaiming their voice and want to actually tell their story.
And also this, that all the stories, when we were filming, I had this, that we are not going to talk before entering smoke sauna. We are not going to talk outside what we're going to talk in smoke sauna. So everything happened there. And one session regularly, average was like 4 hours, but once it was like 8 hours, and like just so much came up. And it was always entering into unknown. And of course the room was hot and humid and temperature, and so it was. I had to be sensitive to emotional atmosphere, but also physically make sure that everyone is safe. And we had the rule that whoever needs to breathe then goes out, and also technology. When camera said, now I need to breathe, we had to go out. So, yeah.
And so, Anna, you're a very accomplished experimental folk musician in your own right. And I heard that maybe your voice was in the film as well. Could you talk about the sound design and the music?
Yeah, so smoke sauna is not just cinematographically so amazing place. I feel always there, like I'm in some Caravaggio painting. But also the soundscape is really, really special. It's like a symphony of smoke sauna, with all the sweat wood and elements and metal. And so for me, important was that we are not going to impose the voice onto the smoke sauna, but create from the voice, from smoke sauna, so from the soundscape from there. So it was collaboration between music or soundscape. It was collaboration between my band and Icelandic composer Edvard Egilsson. And you couldn't do this film without ever being to smoke sauna or this going through this. So me and Eddie basically met, so that was like, Zoom, and then meeting like, hi, let's get naked, let's go to smoke sauna, and did the whole session. And then I knew that it's in good hands, and we really connected. And there's a lot of connections, I feel, with Iceland and Estonia.
And I heard that maybe a soundtrack of the film might be in the works, hopefully.
So many people have asked that. So now, just last week, I was telling Eddie, we should do it. And Eddie was like, yes, we should do it. So there's hope.
I'll buy it.
Thanks.
So we're going to open it up for some audience questions. You can raise your hand if you have a question. Yes.
Yeah, I was going to ask how you dealt with the camera and the lens fogging up, and like, what?
The question is how you dealt with the camera and the lens fogging up in the hot sauna.
Mm-hmm. Thank you. We dealt it like this, that we had two lenses. One that was outside, waiting for outside, because you're inside the smoke sauna, and then you go out, you come back, you cannot do it with the same lens, especially when it's minus 20 Celsius outside. So the one that was inside, so smoke sauna works like this, that you heat it before. So you heat it like around 6 hours before, and then you enter. So while heating up, we put one lens first on the floor, then after 2 hours more up, after 2 hours more up, after 2 hours more up. So it adjusted to the heat. There was moist also, a lot of water. So we knew that probably we might lose some lens for the moist. So we got like good but cheap lenses. In the end, in the 7 years, the casualties are 2 lenses. But camera survived. Camera had ice bags around. And like I said, always noticing when camera needed to breathe. It survived and it still works. And of course, yes, hydrating and having cinematographer had wet cloth dripping all the time, and gloves, and because metal can burn you. I mean, it's the average temperature was 80 degrees Celsius. I don't know how much in Fahrenheit, but it's a lot. And then for a lot of time. In 100, water boils. So
about 200 Fahrenheit, I think.
So sometimes it was more also. In average was 80.
It's absolutely stunning.
Thank
Thank you for making it.
you.
It's so beautiful, visually, emotionally, every beat. Perfection.
Thank you.
Anybody
Thank you
else?
so much.
Yes.
I had a question about like how you went about shooting like the actual smoke, because it almost feels like kind of cosmic. I don't know, it's really cool, so I was just wondering if you could talk about that.
Thank you.
The question is about shooting the smoke.
It's all analog smoke, so real smoke. Smoke is so important element there. Once, I mean, it is hypnotic. And once the most dangerous moment actually was with the smoke. We were shooting, me and cinematographer, as the smoke was arising. And I was watching, we both were watching, and it was so amazing. And suddenly it's like, oh, it's too amazing, let's get out. And then we were like vomiting because we had to stay too long into the smoke. But with camera, like shooting it, It's like you have to be always ready for those miracles. So in like story-wise, but also visually, you cannot control the smoke. You cannot control. Smoke sauna is like a living being, and it depends on the weather, how much the smoke, how it goes. So it's like have to be ready and then shoot. And yeah, so our task was to be ready. Thank you.
So before we wrap it up, I heard there's going to be a special surprise performance.
Yes, but I heard I saw a question also here.
But
before.
I think time is out.
Oi, tervetuloa.
Have you guys been in sauna in Finland?
Yes, I have. So we, yes, wherever I'm person, wherever we are together, or wherever I am alone, I'm doing a song, and it's a thank you song, and I'm not doing it alone. I'm doing it with you, together with the audience. So, small song. I sing first line, and then you can all repeat with me. And Marianne here is also repeating. So
It's the runic verse, this way of singing, an ancient Estonian.
So thank you very much. Aitüma, 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 ait. Aitüma, 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 ait. Armas AFI festival. Armas AFI festival. Vägev Ameerika publikum. Vägev Ameerika publikum. All our shame into sweat waters. All our shame into sweat waters. All our pain into cold water. All our pain into cold water. May we be blessed by sacred waters. May we be blessed by sacred waters. Aitüma, 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 ait. Aitüma, 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 ait. Thank you so much.
Aitüma.
Thank you all so much for coming. Please give it up.